So when you talk about foundations with kettlebells, one of the first things you want to do is learn how to do a deadlift. The deadlift is generally a foundational workout for strength training across the board. I love to program the kettlebell to teach this movement. Reason being that because of the profile of the bell, it's a little bit smaller. It's something that you could learn in your house, in your garage, in your apartment, right? Additionally, it allows you to place the bell in positions that are more conducive to manipulating your body around the bell than having this barbell that reduces your ability to move your hinge behind you or in front of you, or keeping the bar close to the body. So you can learn those foundational movements with the bell itself, okay?
Yeah.
So the first thing we do is I'm gonna have Steph go ahead and stand directly over the top of the bell. As opposed to the barbell, we're able to do that with the kettlebell. So she's gonna stand directly over the top of the bell. I want to make sure that from the side, if I'm watching, if I was looking in a mirror and working out on my own, I would see that my shins were eclipsing the handle of the bell itself. So I'm actually gonna have Steph shift that bell back a little bit, okay? So she's directly over the bell right now. It should be at about her midfoot, and her shins should be eclipsing, right? I shouldn't be able to see the handle of that bell, okay? Now, this is great because what it's going to allow her to do is create and generate what's called a pure hinge, all right? As opposed to a squat where you have more of a quad dominant and knee dominant movement, what we're looking for here is pure posterior chain movement. We're looking to engage the glute complex, some of the hamstring, and push the hips away from us. This movement, when built correctly, will be a really great movement for helping you build your swing in the future. So we start with these ground level movements. They're more foundational, like I said, to help you refine that. So the first thing I'm gonna have you do, Steph, is I want you to go ahead and reach for the handle of that bell. Okay. Now, as she comes down, you can see she doesn't go into a rounded back. Okay, but what we do see is that she's having to reach really far down, so this isn't really a great mimic of how we'd want her to move functionally. So what I'm going to have her do is go ahead and place a block underneath her kettlebell to elevate the height of it so that she reaches down, pushes her hips back, and then she has more of a flat back. If you have a block at home, I would suggest utilizing a block at this point. If you're a little taller, it can be really helpful for getting the mechanics down without suffering the structure of your spinal integrity, okay? So we're looking for T-spine, thoracic integrity, as you move down to this movement. So bell directly between the feet again, eclipse it, okay? I want you to gradually, shift up a little bit more. Okay. I want you to gradually push your hips behind you, okay? Go ahead and come down and grab the bell, okay? Now, one of the benefits to utilizing the bell is that it's placed a little bit behind her, so it actually forces her to push her hips away from her as opposed to immediately getting into a squatty position where she would just drop down over the top of the bell. That movement will come into play later, but we're looking for a pure hinge right now, okay? So from this pure hinge position, there's a couple things that I want to do, all right? I want to tell Steph to make sure that her eyes are on the horizon. All right, I want to permit her a slight bend in her knees, okay? And what I want her to do now is I want her to grab the handle of that bell and try to break it in half, okay? Now, when she does that, what that's going to do is it's going to pack her lat muscles in. Then I'm going to ask her to pull her scapula down and back, and that's going to give me better recruitment into the glute complex, all right? So right now, the way she's situated is perfect. We have a packed in lat muscle, we have a scapula that's down and back, we're preloaded into the heels, okay? A couple things that I want to do with my checkpoints here are look at the structure, and then I also want to say, hey, can you feel your lateral foot and your toe?
Yep, I can.
Okay, so the lateral foot is important and the toe is important here. While we're driving through the heel to stand up tall, right, and getting good posterior chain, the whole back from the spine to the glute complex, we're getting great recruitment there. When we drive through our toe, it actually allows for more glute max recruitment. So we're getting posterior chain recruitment and then better engagement with the glute max. So from here, what I want you to do is gradually stand tall. Perfect. Now, you see how Steph is standing tall with nice clean posture here? She should still be packed back, and what that indicates to me is that she has a nice rigid core. Okay, we're looking for Structural integrity at the spine. So with this, when we talk about core bracing, your core is not just the front here, it's all the way around. Your spine attaches through your erector spinae, and it's your entire spine circumferentially through your torso. That's your core right there. So I want to make sure that her core is nice and tall. When you stood tall, did you feel like you engaged your glute muscle?
I did, yeah.
Okay, so I want her to be cognizant at the top of that of bracing her core and engaging her posterior chain, all right? Now, the positive of the bell is that when she descends, she can't just drop the weight down in front of her. So what she's going to do here is she's going to deload the bell, right? So we have eccentric and concentric load. She's going to eccentrically load the bell right now, and she's going to place her hips back behind her, putting that bell exactly where it came from on that block. So go ahead and push your hips away from you, and go ahead and put that bell back where it came from. All right, stand tall and see one more time, and then leave the bell and relax. All right, when you did that, did you feel how much you had to push your hips back to get the bell back behind you?
Definitely, yeah. I was really far forward.
Yeah, so that's the benefit here, right? We want to make sure that we're standing tall, but then subsequently pushing our hips back again, okay?
Yep.
Did you have any problems? Did you feel like anything was not right?
No, I felt great.
No? All right, perfect.
What kind of problems do you think people have?
So sometimes what we see is the T-spine, right? We talk about thoracic spine integrity, right? So the cool thing about the bell is you can always orient your hand posture. So for this, if someone was having a problem, not standing nice and tall like Steph right now, I would tell them to invert their hands. So with this, I would still place the bell between the feet, but I'd have them turn their hands over. When they come back here, it immediately conditions the lat to engage, and when they stand up, they're going to have to be tall because their posture is going to be augmented by their hands. So it'll look something like this. Now I have to be tall. You see how my chest is out?
Yep.
Core is up, right? My hands are in front of me. As I push away, right back to the middle, forces you to stay tall, okay? All right. So another couple items that I like to do when I'm teaching someone how to move through that deadlift are helping them build their hinge, right? We're talking about, again, that traditional posterior hinge, that pure hinge movement. Now, two ways that I like to do that are utilizing bands, right? Either at the hip height or bands on the bell itself. Do you want to give it a shot?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. Okay, clips the bells, too squatty. Hips back. Overhand. All right, are you flipping? So you got to be on the horns for that if you're going to go
Here.
If you're going to go from there, yeah. So pack your lats in. There you go. Stand up. Stand all the way up. There you go. Feel that? Feel how it makes you be tall?
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's a good way to coach someone to be tall. Or if someone's doing it at home and they're like, I can't get tall. Why am I not tall? Flip your hands over. You can't help it. Nice. Eyes on the horizon. Good. Breathe at the top. Good. Good. Make sure you're pushing your hips back so the bell goes to the block.
Okay.
Hips away, hips away, hips away. See the bells in front of you still, kind of?
Yeah.
Bell behind you. Push your hips back. There you go. Bell to the block. Hips away, hips away. Nice. That's good.
Good.
That's good. Those were good.
Awesome.
Yeah. All right. So 2 minor suggestions that I like to make to clients or anyone who's having trouble finding their hips is to integrate a band. Now, what I did was I anchored a band on a bar. It could be the base of your sofa, the base of your bed. If you're in a garage, you can, as long as you have a nice angle here, you want to cut the angle upward towards the hip. But it doesn't have to be that way. It's not a only kind of thing. There's different variations. So if you really had to have it banded at waist height, that would be fine too. So what I like to do is I like to have my client step inside of the band.
Okay. Facing the rack, right?
Facing me.
Facing me.
Yep. Now, if Steph was having an issue with finding her hinge, I'd have her bring that band up to waist height. Okay. And I would have her go ahead and step out until she generated some tension on that band.
All right.
Okay. And go ahead and allow that band to drive your hips back behind you. There you go. Just hinging. Okay. And stand tall. You feel that tension that you generate on that band? So that's your tactile cue to be tall, but it's also your cue from the band to push your hips back and away from you, okay? If someone's having an issue packing in their lats, right, or staying up in the frontal plane, there's another variation of that, so I'll show you.
Okay.
So if you're having an issue with the hips, finding your hinge, push your hips away from you, use the band to cue you stand tall, brace the glute complex, all right? This is if you're having problem packing in your lats, all right, and staying rigid in the core at the top as well. So I'm gonna have you same anchor on a rack, a sofa, a bed, whatever you have access to where you are, okay? You're gonna go ahead and take that band in your hands and you're gonna reach over to the bell, right? We're gonna have that same positioning, so I'm gonna go ahead and put the bell directly in between my feet. I'm pushing my hips away from me. I'm gonna grab that bell, and what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna pack in, and as I stand tall, that band is gonna force me to stay up. So I'm gonna push my hips away from me, gradually. Bell comes down in between my feet. I feel my glute complex, my hamstrings, and a little bit of my lower back, which is okay. I'm driving through my lateral foot, my toe, and my heel, and I'm standing tall, keeping tension on the band.
Okay.
Okay, give it a shot. And let me know how it feels. Okay, go ahead and come up. Keep tension on. Nice and tall. Good. Push your hips away from you. Bell to the middle. Perfect. Feel that?
Yeah.
It's good, right?
Good.
Yeah, it works. So if you're having a problem, these are two solutions for at home. All right, so we've essentially built you the foundations of a deadlift. What I want to do now are give you some tools to play with, right? So let's get a little spicy with it. So with the deadlift, it's the foundation, but through the foundation, it's like your ramp to the world of kettlebells. It's your on-ramp to the kettlebell world, all right? So we're gonna give you some variations to play with that you can have a really fun and exciting workout with having had just learned the deadlift alone, all right?
Let's do it.
So without getting too technical on some of the terminology, I don't wanna go abductor, adductor, glute, right? Let's just go frontsies, backsies, and sidesies, okay? So we're gonna look at some different ways to attack the frontsies in some squattier positions, right? The backsies, all right, and the sidesies, okay? So we wanna make sure that we're getting everything holistically, and you can do it with just learning deadlifts, all right? Now, the first one that I like to do is I like to teach people just bilateral 2-foot orientation changes, all right, on how you can attack different muscles. Again, backsies, frontsies, sidesies. So one of the first ones I show people is a sumo style deadlift, okay? We wanna get more of those sidesies. We wanna have our feet a little bit wider apart, okay? So the bell is same position at the midfoot, but I'm gonna go ahead and take my feet outward and my hips a little wider, all right? Now when I get down, I am going to naturally become a little more squatty. That's fine. This training is not, hey, there's only one way. It's what's the best thing for you? What is the most pain-free way to execute a movement? If I have to get a little squatty to move this bell, I'm gonna get a little squatty, all right? But the whole goal here is to execute this thing pain-free, all right? All right, so here's your sumo style deadlift, all right? And this is gonna get you a little bit of those sidesies, okay? And sometimes can be a little bit frontsy dominant depending on how squatty you get, okay? So let's go ahead and execute 5 of them, yeah?
Okay, yep.
All right. A little squattier, standing tall, right? I can feel my sidesies, AKA the abductors fire.
Yep.
I can also feel my quads fire, okay? I'm still going back to that position. Bell's a little bit behind me. Standing tall for 2. Going down. Standing tall for 3. Going down. Standing tall for 4. Going down. Standing tall for 5. Perfect. All right, so that's your sumo variation. All right, your next variation is gonna be more of the innies, okay, versus the outies / sidesies, okay? So for this one, if you're using a block, I tell you to turn the block long ways so it looks more like a rectangle, facing away from you. Feet are butted directly up next to that block, okay? If you're just using the bell, feet are butted directly up next to that bell, all right? I'm still in the midfoot though, okay? So for this one, we're gonna come down and we're gonna go ahead and grab our bell, okay? And we're gonna stand up nice and tall, okay? Now for this one, I would be lying to you if I said you were not going to feel your upper back a little bit, right? Because we're in more of a pure hinge stance. So make sure you're pushing your hips away from you. All right, if you need to, you can space a little bit. All right, sometimes people get a little aggravated by the really tight foot posture. So I tell them, hey, if you need to be a little squatty, be squatty. If you need a little space in your feet, get some space in your feet. Make sure you push your hips away from you. Again, the goal here is to get the innies, right? And a little bit of that glute and a little bit of that upper back. There's nothing wrong with getting a little upper back. We're strengthening it, but we want to do it safely, okay? So we want to execute 5?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, let's do it. Hips away and up for 1. Hips away, place it back in between. Up for 2. Hips away. Up for 3. Hips away. Up for 4. Hips away. Up for 5. Nice.
Good.
All right, cool.
Yeah.
I'm gonna hit them with a couple other ones.
All right, let's do it.
All right. How we could execute this with 2 bells, okay? If you don't have 2 bells at home, completely fine. I'm going to give you about 3 more variations with a single bell. But if you do have 2 bells at home, it's a really fun way to play with the deadlift, okay? So for the 2-bell deadlift, you're going to have to naturally have your feet a little wider, which is okay, right? My bells are going to be in here, okay? And I'm going to go ahead and push my hips away from me, same way as I did prior, okay? Reach down, pack in, stand up. Still pushing my hips away from me. You can see I'm a little more on my lateral foot here, right? Which is okay because I've created some space there. But again, like we said, the heel, the lateral foot, and the big toe are your major drivers when it comes to your deadlift. So if you're in the lateral foot for this, it's okay. We just want to make sure that we're still giving ourselves a real pure hinge here. Again, okay to be squatty though. All right, just find your sweet spot. All right, so just do 1 more and then I'll let you jump in for 2.
Sure, let's do it.
All right, so I'm going to push my hips away from me. Okay, I'm going to find my bells, and I'm going to go ahead and drive through the heels, the midfoot, and the toe, standing tall. Good.
Cool.
Make sure your bells are back. Go for it. Make sure you pack in and pull your bells so that you're tall and your lat is firing. There you go. Different, right?
Yeah.
Nice.
Good.
That was good.
Great.
Okay. So let's say you're home and you only have 1 bell to play with still. There is a ton of variety you can do with that, all right? Another fun variation that you can do with your 2 kettlebells is a top-down loading. So I would coach my client, you, right, or Steph, to go ahead and get their posture set up just like they did with their first bilateral bell deadlift. I'm going to go ahead and stand tall. At this point, I'm going to make a foot adjustment just like I did prior, where I had my feet close to the box, right, or close to the bell or to the block. And for this one, I'm going to push my hips away. And tall. Away. Bells out in front, and tall, away, bells out in front, and tall. Want to give it a shot?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay, so start from your bilateral stance, put your bells in between, go ahead and move your spacing. Okay, now once you stand tall from that standard stance, go ahead and stand tall. Now adjust your feet inward. A little closer if you want to.
Okay.
You don't even have to go that close, maybe a little bit out. There you go. And go ahead and push your hips away from you and come down. There you go, come up. Push hips away. Nice. Like them?
Yeah, I like it.
A nice variation, right?
Definitely. Something that the other deadlift doesn't bring. So
Yeah.
that's good. Yeah.
Always different angles, right?
Yep.
You got the nooks, you got the crannies, you got the frontsies, you got the backsies, you got the innies, you got the outies. Just got to get them all.
Yeah.
Got to build them all.
Okay.
All right. All right. So let's look at some variations with a single bell here. Okay. Now with the 1 bell, we can do something with a little bit of rotation or anti-rotation. All right. Now for this one, If I reach inside with a single hand, I automatically have to orient my body differently. So when I stand tall, because of that, I'm having some traction built into the core, which gives me a little bit of downward rotation, and then standing tall, anti-rotation. So it's really fun for core work. So along with all the other things you're doing, you can integrate some core to this. So I'm gonna go ahead and do the same thing. All the foundational movements from the initial kettlebell are always the prep that I do from the rest of the kettlebells, okay?
Yep.
So I'm gonna go ahead and push my hips behind me. I'm gonna grab that other bell, overhand grip, okay? And right now I'm rotating a little bit inward. And as I stand tall, because I'm loading one side only, I feel some core rigidity here. That's a good thing. I'm holding it in traction and I'm working anti-rotation, okay? Come back down, safely deload. Stand tall, okay? Now, just because you don't have a lot of different bells at home doesn't mean you can't do a lot of different workouts, right? You can take one bell and you can add bands to it and make it harder and heavier. You can take one bell and you can change your foot posture. You can take two bells and change the way that you load them or deload them, all right? Yep. So let's try that single bell.
All right, talk me through it.
Okay, so you're gonna go ahead and stand with a standard bilateral stance.
Okay.
You're gonna eclipse the bell with your shin still, so shift forward a little bit. You're gonna push your hips behind you. You're gonna reach whichever arm you want first, cross body to the bell. You're gonna stand tall with that bell, and you're gonna brace your core, stand all the way up. Good. So just by the nature of having a single side loaded, we automatically work anti-rotation, which is great for core work, right? It's not all about doing just a lot of crunches. It's also about keeping that core rigid and tall, okay?
Yep.
Feel that?
Yeah.
All right, sweet.
All right.
All right. So another variation that we can do is one that I like to play with from what's called a 1.5 stance or an offset stance. Now, a lot of times you'll see trainers putting people in these really, really compromising positions immediately, like on a single leg, right? Or really, really far linear split stances. But if you haven't really built the balance yet, then it really just becomes an exercise in balance or how not to fall over or how to land on the floor. So what we want to do here is give you the ability to work a single leg, right? Talking about a bilateral stance that allows for unilateral muscle development, okay? So both feet are on the floor, but we're focalizing the effort to one foot. Yeah. So I tell people to go into what's called the 1.5 stance. It's a kickstand style stance. I'm gonna go ahead and go to my heel. I'm gonna go heel to heel at the edge of it. I'm gonna go up on my toe and I'm gonna pirouette. Now this leg essentially just becomes a little bit of an anchor or a balance. I can take my bell, right? I can place that bell to the midfoot just like it was on the inside of my body. I can go ahead and reach down over the top of that bell and I can stand tall. What that allows me to do though is load my hips even further to the back, okay? Now my hips are way behind me and I can go ahead and stand up. And now I'm doing centralized work on the left leg only. Pushing my hips away. I feel my left glute. I'm in the left lateral foot. I stand tall through the toe. And I'm engaged. You want to try it?
Yeah, let's do it. All right, talk me through.
All right.
In
so,
a 1.5.
Yep, and the bell should be at about the midfoot of the front foot.
All right.
Okay, and we want to go ahead and push our hips away from us, right? Using that space that we've created with that 1.5 stance, allowing us to generate some more space in the hips, deeper into the glute tissue.
Yep.
Go ahead and reach with your non-forward hand to the bell. And go ahead and drive through your toe, your lateral foot, and stand tall. Nice. Let's do 3. How's that feel?
Great.
How's the work on the left leg?
Yeah, that's challenging.
Centralizing the work, right? Yeah. So another way to make it fun is if you want to not just hit the innies, you want to hit the outies, single bell at home. Take that bell to the outside of the foot. Find yourself your 1.5 stance. Push your hips away from you. Load down. Find your bell. Eyes on the horizon still, back is flat, loaded into the glute complex. Suitcase style deadlift, okay? All the way up. Give it a shot.
All right.
So right next to the foot, 1.5, take that toe, and when you come out on it, I want you to kind of just pirouette.
Okay.
So take that toe, pirouette, there you go. Yeah. Push your hips away from you. Again, traditional deadlift. and then go ahead and come up. Nice.
Yeah,
Feel that?
I do.
Yeah, so getting the sidesies now. And 3, all the way up, breathe. Nice. Great. So if you really want to get creative and you do have 2 bells at home and you really want to get some centralized work on that leg, grab your 2 bells, flank that foot, okay? Make sure you go ahead and go into that 1.5 stance, push the hips away from you, find your 2 bells, and stand tall. Now my arm right here is staying about in the middle of my body, it's called the midline, and my other arm is outside the body. So as I come down, I push my hips away. Okay? Bring it a little closer. So, yeah, there you go. Yep, and go ahead and drive and stand tall. Good. Your right foot's kind of close.
Come further out?
Yeah, a little bit.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, all the way up and breathe. Feel that?
Yeah.
Where's all the work?
In my quad.
Your left leg, right?
Leg, yeah.
Good, good. Good. Make sure you're pushing your hips behind you on the deload and on the ascent. So hips behind you.
All right.
Up. Good.
Yeah.
Nice. Cool.
Awesome.
All right. Another variation, angle the foot. Okay, something you can't do with a barbell. So this is I always have something you can't do with a barbell. All right. You can't do this with a barbell. So you go into that 1.5 stance, and instead of just shifting back into the hips, I'm actually going to give my leg a little bit of rigidity here and shift back so that it's nice and straight, okay? I'm going to take my bell. I'm really deeply loaded into the hamstring and the glute right now, and I'm going to go ahead and stand tall from this position, right, with my leg straight, okay? Okay, try it out.
Sure. Right here.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
place the bell about the midfoot.
Okay.
And go ahead and push into your hips. Push your hips back, 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 back. Now straighten your left leg. I want you to take your left leg, though, back. I want you to be almost like at an angle like this.
Oh, got it.
There you go. Now stand up. Feel a difference?
Definitely.
Yeah, so that's like deep tissue loading.
Yeah, for sure.
Yep. And it's just ways to kind of make your, your whole, frontsies, backsies, sidesies, kind of attack it from different angles.
Yeah,
you know?
absolutely.
Okay. All right, sweet. The last variation I'll show is a squattier variation of the deadlift because it really integrates well with the next component, which is your clean and your snatch. All right. Now, traditionally, right, we talked about that traditional hinge, that pure hinge movement, just pushing our hips right behind us, right? I'm going to go ahead and go the opposite of that and say, let's get a little squatty, all right? So from this position, all right, I want you to go ahead and push your hips back, but I want you to allow for some bend, some gradual bend in the legs, all right? This is going to be a more athletic position. It's more of an athletic hinge, okay? So if you go to the far side of the spectrum and say the most squatty thing you can do is a goblet squat, right? The most hingy thing you can do is a kettlebell swing or traditional deadlift, right? We're talking about a pure hinge here. The trap bar somewhere in the middle, right? And it's really great to teach, the hinge, but not every gym has one, and your house maybe doesn't either, right? It's pretty big.
Right.
So what I like to do is teach people the variations of what they can do with their hips with the bell. The reason I like this variation is because you need to generate some really strong force from the ground to get the bell to move for the clean and the snatch, okay? Now, for the swing, the pure hinge is king. For the clean and the snatch, the quad dominant squatty hip is king, okay?
Awesome.
So for this one, we're gonna come down, right? I'm gonna let myself get a little squattier. Think about jumping, okay? And I'm gonna go ahead and push through my legs, nice and tall, okay? Still hinging, but driving up tall, okay? Now, this is perfect because think about jumping, right? Even though I'm teaching you a pure hinge right now, right? That's just the hips behind me, okay? You would never jump like this. You wouldn't get very far, right? But in order to generate force, real force, I have to be able to bend my legs, right?
Yeah.
So I have to be able to bend my legs and jump, create some space. So we talk about these more dynamic athletic movements, these squattier movements, because that's what allows us to generate the force to make more dynamic kettlebell movements from the ground up, i.e. clean the bell, snatch the bell, right? And then ultimately, swinging to clean and cleaning to snatch and all the fancy stuff, okay?
Yeah.
Cool.
Awesome.
All right.
All right.
That's all I got.
Sweet.